Come one, come all, you treacherous lot, and witness my villainy. Now this series is a compliment to my Being Better Blues, which no one watches, because who cares about Blue Spirits, right? Well, maybe you'll watch this one, because it's invading, and invading's more fun. So the whole point here is I pick a character from my list, in this case, Old Swordsman, and we pick a location in which to invade with 5 tugs of the red orb. In this case, the Profaned capital. Now, if you want to skip ahead to the actual invasions, you can go into about 2 minutes in the video. Otherwise, I'm going to show off the build first. At level 70, Old Swordsman is a very generically named Dex Knight, with an emphasis on +7 weapons for matchmaking, and all his weapons are either sharp infused or Dex themed, although I try to use swords exclusively due to his name, of course. Sword and board, and to store a great sword out of the starting gate is usually how I have him outfitted, although I do keep other curved or sharp weapons on retainer. You'll see some katanas there as well. The Murakumo is my go-to crowd pleaser. It's also my hyper armor preference. I do have a Black Knight sword also for pocket poise, although I don't use it in this particular videos. Murakumo will make an appearance in one of the clips. The armor is sort of a grim-dark assortment of Drake Blood and Lorian's torso. Give him sort of an edgy look, edgy vibe. Ring spread is what you'd expect for any invader build under level 125, which is meta. I do have one free for utility, and in this case, of Profaned Capital, it'll be the cat ring. And I do have one extra Ashen use to replenish my weapon art if need be, although I have yet to use that in any of my invasions. Hopping right into the first invasion, my host name is Mothrek, and right away I noticed that I've triggered the Gargoyle, which, if you didn't know, Red Phantoms can do in this area. It's very helpful to know where your host hasn't been yet. So I'm expecting to see a bonfire party at least, or maybe a lone host at the bonfire, but instead these guys are chilling at the bottom of the ladder. Now I take a quick look at their attire, and I'm expecting a password icon above this white phantom, but that's not the case. I'm not quite sure what sort of trade down roleplay these two dudes are rocking, but I do doubt, based on their play style, that they've actually been to the Ring City. But that could be wrong. Some people are just better at PvE, not so much at PvP. I'm trying to coax them out here, so I go back up for another surprise attack, and the game locks me into a backstab attempt when I was hoping to do a regular R1. I don't know if that was noticeable, and probably stupid to go for a parry there also, so these guys chew me up a little bit. Trade with the host real quick before getting out. Fair enough trade in my opinion for the minimal damage I took. So I know the host isn't exactly the trouser wearer in this little pairing, so I go back up the ladder thinking if I can do this enough times, maybe they'll get annoyed and follow me down, and I can have a chase through the Crystal Lizard hallways. We never get that far though. These guys never leave this area. I throw some items, trying to be annoying. They don't really go for it. Now when you have passive players like this that are fixated on holding a choke point, or in this case, they just don't want to leave the safe room, it can be kind of annoying. I sort of wait out the stalemate a little bit here, and eventually what happens is they decide to retreat back to the opposing ladder and make tracks for the dungeon. And of course I'm hoping this happens, of course, because like any good invader I have the throwable knives. Host eats some daggers, falls down. I give him a full charge with the R2. Do very, very nice damage to him, but his buddy hops down, and I linger probably longer than I should have there. I probably could have handled that a little bit better. And I panic roll out of the hole at the wrong spot, but the good news is they're not able to reciprocate by my blunder. And I hope this is the one that'll get them to hop down, and unfortunately they don't, which means I'm climbing up this ladder knowing exactly the situation. They're gonna have made it up there by now, and sure enough they have. So the situation here is I'm going to have to chase them. Now some players do this. I think maybe They're more comfortable luring invaders to areas they've cleared, and perhaps these guys were already engaged in a saga, if you will, that have already been through the previous area. Now I switched to the obscuring ring. I see them, so that means they could see me. So with that obscuring ring, I don't have to worry about that part of it. I do break my roleplay a little bit here to break out one of the bow and arrows, but you always have a bow and arrow if you're an invader. You should always have a bow and arrow, period. I missed the great shot here, but it's enough to spook them into retreating a little bit. I'm not quite sure what happens here. I guess the host was trying to follow his phantom and instead ran to the edge thinking that was where the doorway was. But I'm thinking that was an unplanned death. Invasion number 2 is against Zoser, or Zoser. Not quite sure how to say that one. And once again, I spawn in on the early area. Now, rather than checking out the ladder right away, because I'm not quite sure where my host is, I go for that gargoyle trigger, the invader proximity. And sure enough, the gargoyle is there, so I know the host is by the beginning. And in this particular case, Zoser is alone. Now with lone host, I'm usually a little more forgiving, maybe not quite as aggressive. He does tag me pretty good here in my carelessness, so the reaction parry kind of evens the odds a little bit. Now I skunk him with the undead charm, but he still gives me some reciprocation, which I like seeing. We get into a big sword scrap. Tag each other a few more times. It gets a little bit close. I'm not healing, he can't heal. Something kind of cool happens here. R1, he R1s. We both managed to space or dodge it. It's kind of cool, I thought. So I slowed that down a little bit. Going for a weapon art. He peels back, and I seal the deal with a toss of the firebomb. Good fight to that host. He held his ground. I always like a host that'll try to fight over one who flees, so that was nice. I come on in without my obscuring ring selected, so I make a quick swap there as I see that I've invaded Pero as my third host. Now this is a situation where I come in at an opportune time. These guys just happen to be leaving the Crystal Lizard hallway, and they can't see me right now because of the ring. So I'm hoping they hop down. Sometimes people wait up there, which is frustrating, but these guys at least think I'm clear of the area because they can't see me. And I see this as an opportunity for a good plunge as they go up the ladder. This is a favorite spot of mine. However, in this particular instance, I kind of screwed up, and I don't hop down quick enough, and the host manages to fly on by. So we have a bit of a balcony battle. Now I have the cat ring, so I'm not too worried. This phantom gets a little bit overzealous with the guard up. I'm able to get a guard break critical, which instantly neutralizes him. So I'm not quite sure what his story was there. I'm sure if he had swung at me, I would have had a maybe a intelligence infused curved sword in the face, which probably is indicator of a mage, which also means they probably had low vigor. Host has got an axe. Host is staying aggressive, which I like to see. So I kind of stick to this area. I do heal. I want him to know that this is an invasion, not an honor duel, so he heals as well. But I think it's cool he's sticking to the fight here, so I'm thinking maybe he has the cat ring as well. Either that or he's making a very big risk. And sure enough, I'm able to knock him backwards enough so he wobbles off, and he does survive the fall. Again, another plunge missed. I'm 2-0 there. I'm expecting him to go up the ladder here. He doesn't do it. So this guy at least has got half a brain. And I'm gonna pay for it in a minute for my disrespect, blowing all my stamina with the greatsword. He gives me what for pretty good with that Dragon Slayer axe, and I almost buy it here. I don't know why I weapon arted there. But we're back into the toxic pool. and I'm able to put him away before he gets one lucky swing on me. That was a little bit difficult to watch, actually, for me replaying. I was pretty reckless there, but at the end of the day, I win, so that's that. Invasion number 4 is against Pope Francis. I spawn in the Crystal Lizard hallway here. I almost said cave. It's a hallway, not a cave. Do the quick ring swap, just in case someone's watching. No one's watching, so I go back to my cat ring. You know, invaders look for health bars to see where their party is going to be, and I always try to remember that hosts are likely doing the same. Now, in this particular invasion, the host had 2 phantoms with him. I didn't know that till I got up there. And the host is poisoned pretty good by the toxicity. So I'm expecting a lone guy until I get to the top of the ladder. And we have a gold phantom to meet me. Now he goes in the room here. And I'm expecting him to come out with his shield up. But we have a little bit of weird lag there. So I take some phantom hits. Not quite sure what the ping was about. But the connection evens out as I go up the staircase here. Now this gold, if you've noticed, is enjoying that shield. So I make a mental note of that, and I'm two-handing my straight sword, and even showing off the weapon art stance. The gold does turn and burn on me a little bit with the R1s, but he goes back to the shield guard, which I anticipate correctly in this case, and I'm able to get a guard break. And he's hurt enough so that the single stab will put him away with the critical damage. And the other phantom, sure enough, has made an appearance. Now this guy I liked. He's rocking the same sword as me, but if you look closely at his roleplay, he's actually rocking a very accurate Way of White build. He's got the Way of White armor, the Astora armor, he's got the Astora sword, and that bloom shield on his back is a Way of White artifact. So me and this guy go at it. We don't get to enjoy our sword fight too long because I hear a scream, and the host has just lost a battle with the court sorcerer, who I guess none of these guys thought to fight all at once. So I'm not quite sure why the party was separated there. But sure enough, that one goes in the books as another win. Now, invasion number 5 against host Ruchius, or Ruchius maybe, I'm not too sure. This is the longest of the set here, and as I spawn into the toxic pool, I'm at a loss to where my party and host may be. And this could be a situation where they went one way, I went another way, but as I come on in, I am greeted to the message of a summon. So my first thought is he's back at the bonfire. Maybe he hightailed it at my appearance, and then a blue sentinel comes in. So I've got a blue spirit, at least one phantom, and a host. So I take the opportunity to make tracks back to the bonfire, and unbeknownst to me, and you can kind of see the clip of him for a second as I'm going up the ladder, the blue sentinel has shown up. And irritatingly enough, he's not really prepared to handle me at the ladder. If he had knifed me with the daggers, I probably would have fallen to my demise or taken a lot of damage. And then he allows himself to get plunged. This is the kind of stuff that I expect better of from blues. But this Farron warrior is pretty stocked with the Estus, but instead of going for some obvious attacks, he misses some opportunities that he could make to do a bit of parrying. And while he does make a couple of jabs, he goes for that parry one time too many, and go for a predict parry here on a rolling R1. Try to teach him what's what with the parries, and then I skunk him with the undead charm, and he goes for a double parry panic, maybe a panic play rather, with his back to me. So I give him a little bit of sass for it. I don't like to make fun of blues, I don't like to bully blues, but because I do a lot of blue summons myself, when blues make boneheaded decisions like that and don't come prepared with the right toolbar outfit, I do take it personally. Now another blue comes on in while this is happening, and I notice that the Great Eye of Sauron is all the way back at the toxic pool. And then sure enough, another blue comes on in. So I've already got 2 more cops en route. But again, I don't know where the host is. He did summon someone, so I'm assuming that he has gone forward into the level. So I run past the bonfire to head to the rest of the Profaned capital. And I'm thinking those blues just had a sorry luck of the draw with the spawn points. But sure enough, as I come down this ladder, I get the indicator that a dark spirit has arrived as well. So Francium is in the level, and sure enough, I was wrong all along. The battle is ensuing later in the level. I'm guessing they probably were hanging out by Sigvard. And before I can show up, 1 blue is down and I've lost my red ally. Sorry Francium, I just wasn't around. So I speeded up a little bit. I'm already feeling a little bit late to the party. This is a good opportunity for me to break out the Murakumo, so I equip it in just a second. I'm expecting a whole team of guys to just show up out of nowhere, so I'm ready for it. It's gonna happen. But I guess these guys were still exchanging greetings while I showed up, even though the Dark Spirit died a little while ago. And I surprised the gold and the blue with some R1 spam from the Murakumo. Now the gold buys it here. He goes aggressive instead of healing, which was a mistake. And the blue spirit, the Dark Moon, puts me to task with this Saint's Bident. It's a very good weapon in the Hands of the Faith build. Now the host has got an interesting loadout of weapons. He's going for a lot of left-handed curved sword parries with the Pontiff sword, when he probably should be focusing on damage support for that Dark Moon. I'm able to catch the Dark Moon in the tight spot, and it's me and the host now. Now I think it dawned on him that he was alone at this point, so he starts hightailing it backwards. Now I'm ready to consider him a standard host coward, lost his team running away to the bonfire, but that's not quite what he does. He does make tracks away from me, and I expect him to go to the bonfire incorrectly, and it cost me a little bit of space here. So he runs back to the ladder, and try to follow him up with a plunge of my own. Doesn't quite work. We pull over to the little island here in the toxic pool. Now, I go for a weapon art and he backstabs me. I think that was accidental. I don't think that was an intentional backstab, because he totally whips the follow-up. Slow-mo the parry versus firebomb. And that's pretty much it, folks. And that concludes Red Orb Menace Episode 1. Good game, everybody.